say was that that's got its own comic art metaphysics to it, which is, okay, you passed that test when you were in your 20s. Now we've got a test coming up for you in your 50s, where you're going to say, okay, this is the comic book that I want to do. I'm just going to have fun with it. I don't want to get into some giant morass again, as Erebus ended up being. And that's exactly what happened, because I didn't anticipate, well, okay, you're going to start talking about the car accident. If you start talking about the car accident, well, I'll have to go back and, pull out a couple of articles that I've got on it and read it and start picturing it as comic pages. And it's like, when I looked at it going, this doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I'm trying to read this in terms of I have to turn these into comic pages, and I'm not seeing it. I hadn't realized before how little sense any of this made when I first read these articles, which had been some years before. What I also didn't anticipate was Eddie Kana getting equally enthusiastic about this and giving me research material. Ask Eddie, can you see what you can find about this? Can you see what you can find about that? And the story started taking shape, but the story was huge, and it wasn't just huge, it was impossibly huge. It's the same thing that happened to Chester Brown on Underwater, where he started doing underwater as how a child gradually learns language and learns what words mean, and the associated meanings of them, and realized, however many issues he got into underwater, that, okay, I'm already this many issues in, and I don't think I'm even like a fifth of the way through the story. So essentially just had to abandon it. And you never want to have that happen as a creator, but at a specific point, you have to realize, okay, that is happening, or that has happened with the book that I'm working on. Strange Death of Alex Raymond. So let me go sideways from that to say, having made the decision that no, I'm not going to keep mocking up pages, and I'm not going to keep going ahead on a page by page by page by page basis. Then I started thinking, okay, well, what's a good analogy of it? I think a good analogy of it was the experience with F. Scott Fitzgerald on The Last Tycoon, which was his uncompleted final novel, uncompleted at the time of his death. And I thought I had that in the crack-up, but I actually got it in a separate book, The Last Tycoon, with an introduction by Edmund Wilson, who ended up, I think, writing the end of The Last Tycoon from Scott Fitzgerald's notes. And I did that because it is a very interesting book. But I found myself more interested in all of the threads that got left at the end than I was in the book itself. Although the book is very, very good. Wilson is right that this is a very mature F. Scott Fitzgerald in his early 40s, doing his best to produce a work of literature. Unfortunately, then he started drinking, and he actually wrote a couple of scenes with major drinking in them. And things that I'm hoping to do is to write a, if I die in 6 months, here's my best